You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not alarmed. Many people, when they first read this sentence, feel that it is far removed from their own lives, as if it only belongs to religious texts describing the end times. But if you take a serious look at today's world, you may realize that this sentence is, in fact, extremely close to reality. The most obvious feeling of our time is instability. You don't need to follow international news closely or study geopolitics. Just scrolling through a few pieces of information is enough to expose you to words like conflict, war, confrontation, sanctions, crisis, and recession, again and again. One moment the economy is said to be recovering, the next it is said to be declining. An industry that is a golden opportunity today may begin massive layoffs tomorrow. Many of these events may not have happened to you personally yet, but emotionally, you are already surrounded by them. What truly wears people down is often not the events themselves, but the constant feeling of uncertainty, the sense of not knowing what tomorrow will bring. You begin to worry about the future, to question whether effort still matters, to fear being left behind by the times. This state, at its core, is panic. And here, Jesus says something deeply counterintuitive. He does not say the world will get better, nor does he say these things will not happen. He simply says, do not be alarmed. Not because the situation is insignificant, but because panic itself is often what destroys people first. If you observe carefully, you will notice that much of today's content is not designed to inform you of facts, but to amplify your emotions. Fear, anger, and anxiety spread most easily. Algorithms favor them, because once people are seized by emotion, it becomes difficult for them to stop. You think you are consuming information, but in reality, your emotions are being repeatedly stimulated. A person who lives in constant panic gradually loses the ability to judge clearly. They become more extreme, more easily manipulated, and less capable of making calm decisions. Many breakdowns that appear to be seeing reality clearly are, in fact, simply being driven forward by fear. So do not be alarmed does not mean pretending that the world is fine, nor does it mean escaping reality. The Bible never denies that the world will be chaotic. On the contrary, it acknowledges this clearly. The key question is not whether chaos will come, but whether you will allow chaos to carry you away. Much of the suffering among young people today does not come from ignorance of the world's problems, but from the fact that once they see those problems, their inner world collapses. They scroll through bad news, grow increasingly hopeless, and eventually lose the will to act or any sense of direction. This state may look like clarity, but it is actually emotional exhaustion. In the near future, the world is unlikely to suddenly become much better, nor will it suddenly collapse. It will more likely remain in a prolonged state of uncertainty. Those who suffer most are often not the least capable, but those who are defeated by panic first. If a person cannot preserve inner stability, it becomes extremely difficult to make meaningful choices when the external environment changes. In an era that runs on manufacturing fear, not panicking is itself a rare ability. When others are frightened into losing judgment, you remain calm. When others are pushed by emotion to take sides, you are still able to observe. When others respond to extremes with extremes, you remain clear-headed. This is not weakness, it is strength. So this verse is not really telling you, the world is fine. It is telling you, even if the world is in chaos, do not hand yourself over to fear. You may acknowledge reality, recognize risks, and admit difficulty, but do not let panic determine the direction of your life. In an age that constantly amplifies anxiety, those who can steady themselves are the ones who truly retain the space to move forward. Because lawlessness will increase, the love of many will grow cold. When you read this sentence today, it feels strikingly familiar, almost uncomfortable, because it describes, with remarkable accuracy, the state many people are living in right now. You may notice that people seem increasingly impatient with one another. In families, communication decreases while conflict grows. In intimate relationships, many enter them already assuming they will eventually end. Among friends, people are quicker to calculate gains and losses, afraid of being taken advantage of. This is not because people are born cold-hearted, but because many have been worn down by reality, and their hearts have slowly grown tired. Many young people are not truly indifferent, they are simply exhausted. They were taught from a young age to work hard, follow rules, and be obedient, only to discover later that many rules are unfair and many efforts go unrewarded. After repeated disappointments, people instinctively pull back emotionally, using detachment as a form of self-protection. This is why so much sarcasm, cynicism, and emotional outbursts today are not pure malice, but defensive reactions to long-term frustration. When someone keeps giving and receives nothing in return, eventually they learn to stop giving. Here, the Bible is not condemning people. It is describing a social condition in advance. When injustice increases, when rules fail, when wrongdoing seems to prevail, people naturally begin to ask, does goodness still matter? Is loving others simply a way to lose? Then Jesus follows with a sentence that is harder to accept, yet far more important, but the one who endures to the end will be saved. Many people recoil at the word endure, assuming it means continued suffering or silent submission. But endurance here does not mean allowing yourself to be harmed or turning a blind eye to evil. Rather, it is a choice. In an environment that encourages you to grow cold, harsh, and calculating, will you still choose to preserve the most basic part of your humanity? It is not that you lack the ability to become hardened, it is that you choose not to. In daily life, becoming cold is easy. You show less concern, more suspicion, less trust, more defense. Gradually, you stop getting hurt, but you also stop truly connecting with anyone. Love has always involved risk. Relationships inevitably bring pain. The problem with the world is not that people get hurt, but that more and more people choose to close themselves off entirely. Coldness may feel safe, but it slowly drains life of warmth. Jesus is not naively demanding unconditional giving. He is warning that if you shut down love in order to avoid pain, you will also shut down hope, meaning, and connection. In the end, a person may still be alive, but their inner world becomes barren. In an age of broken relationships, choosing to love is an act of real strength. This love does not need to be dramatic. It often takes the form of small, concrete choices, not turning others into enemies too quickly, choosing understanding when possible, offering patience where coldness would be easier. Many people believe the world worsens because there is too much kindness. In truth, the world deteriorates because kind people quietly withdraw. Every forget it and it's not worth it gives coldness a little more space. Continuing to love may not bring immediate rewards, but it prevents you from becoming someone you do not want to be. When a person can still treat others sincerely, it means there is still strength within them, they have not been fully broken. So this passage is not telling you to give more at all costs. It is telling you not to let the world reshape you into someone you despise. In an era where love grows cold, choosing not to follow the current is itself a quiet but powerful testimony. You must be careful that no one deceives you. Reading this today creates a strange feeling, as if it were not spoken 2,000 years ago, but written specifically for our time. Our problem is no longer a lack of information, but an excess of it. Every day you are exposed to more opinions, positions, and emotions than any person can truly process. When you scroll through your phone, you are rarely searching for answers. Instead, conclusions are pushed toward you. Often, before you have time to think, you are already being urged to take a side. In such an environment, being deceived is often not a matter of intelligence, but of exhaustion. When the brain is constantly bombarded with information, it seeks the path of least resistance, accepting the simplest, most emotionally charged narratives. This is why deception today rarely appears as blatant lies. More often, it comes wrapped in phrases like "for your own good," "this is real clarity," or "finally someone dares to speak the truth." You are told who the absolute villains are, who the enemies are, and that as long as you hate the right people, you are on the side of justice. But reality is rarely so simple. Most problems in the world are not black and white. Reducing complexity into emotional opposition may feel satisfying, but it strips people of their ability to think. The Bible is not telling you to believe nothing. It is calling you to be careful. Being careful does not mean being suspicious of everything. It means slowing down, resisting the urge to draw immediate conclusions, and refusing to be dragged along by emotion. Often, the real danger is not that someone is deceiving you, but that you are desperate for an answer that will settle your emotions. When Jesus urges caution, he is calling people to take responsibility for their own thinking. Not every idea placed before you deserves instant acceptance, and not every emotion stirred within you is a sign of truth. When a person's inner world is entirely fed by external narratives, they eventually become nothing more than containers for emotion. Discernment, then, is about reclaiming agency. It does not require rejecting everything, but learning to ask questions. Who is saying this? Why are they saying it? What emotion is this meant to provoke? If I live according to this idea, where will it lead me? This kind of thinking is rare today because it is slow, unstimulating, and difficult to spread. Yet it is precisely this slowness that prevents a person from being swallowed by the times. A person without discernment is easily pushed around, angry one moment, despairing the next, then fervent, then numb. On the surface, they appear deeply engaged, but inwardly they are increasingly lost. A discerning person may not appear as passionate, but their inner world is stable. So this warning is not about becoming skeptical of everything, but about refusing to be easily manipulated. In an age where truth and falsehood are hard to distinguish, remaining clear-minded is itself a form of strength. When you can still think independently and take responsibility for your judgments, no narrative can easily drag you along. So I tell you, do not worry about your life, your Father knows. This passage is often misunderstood today and frequently undervalued. Many people react instinctively to the phrase, do not worry, feeling it dismisses real pressures, as if spoken from a place of privilege. But the focus of this statement is not do not worry, but your Father knows. Much anxiety today does not come from difficulty alone, but from the belief that everything rests solely on one's own shoulders, that if you stop, everything will collapse. This passage reminds you that you are not struggling in a cold, indifferent universe. Your situation, your stress, and your fear are not unseen. Even if you cannot yet see a way forward, that does not mean you have been abandoned. This is not an invitation to inaction or passivity. Reality does not improve simply because of belief. Jesus never denied responsibility, work, or hardship. He shifts the focus from how much can I control to am I carrying everything alone? The statement your Father knows provides deep psychological grounding. It does not instantly remove pressure, but it reminds you that you do not need anxiety to prove your existence. You do not need to remain perpetually tense to secure the future. In a rapidly changing world, ordinary people are losing their sense of control. This is not a personal failure, it is a feature of the age. When you turn all pressure inward, collapse becomes inevitable. Anxiety does not make the future more manageable, it merely exhausts you in advance. And true security cannot be built solely on stable circumstances, because circumstances always change. What sustains a person is the conviction that even when the path is unclear, they have not been discarded by the world. So this passage is not commanding you to instantly stop worrying. It is inviting you to gradually loosen the belief that everything depends entirely on you. When you no longer carry all the weight alone, you actually gain more strength to face reality. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. And you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Many people find this statement abstract, idealistic, or unrealistic when they first encounter it, as if it were spoken to people living easy lives in a clean world. Yet much of the pain young people experience today stems precisely from not knowing what they are living for. You may not lack goals. You have plans, lists, anxieties, and desired outcomes. But few pause to ask, if I achieve these things, will I truly feel at peace? If they are unstable, where am I placing my life? The world changes too quickly. Systems, industries, technologies, and standards of evaluation are constantly shifting. It is difficult to map out a lifetime along a single path. What seems crucial today may lose all relevance in a few years. When your entire sense of worth rests on such unstable foundations, anxiety becomes inevitable. This statement matters because it recenters life away from external results and toward internal direction. Loving God does not mean withdrawing from reality. It means refusing to turn power, money, achievement, or ideology into ultimate authorities. Once these finite things become gods, they begin to control you, and when they are lost, everything collapses. Loving others as yourself is not merely a gentle slogan. It asserts that meaning does not come solely from advancement, but also from how you treat those around you. A person may win continuously and still end up empty if relationships are lost along the way. Many people today appear rational on the surface, yet are deeply lonely inside. In highly competitive environments, others become tools, rivals, or burdens. Over time, relationships weaken, trust erodes, and genuine connection fades. Together, these two commands form a deeply practical framework for life. You do not need to win every battle to know you are walking in the right direction. You do not need perfect calculations to know you have not entrusted your life to what cannot last. When loving God and loving others become central, many anxieties lose their grip. You will still face decisions, pressure, and failure, but you will not be erased by them. Your value is no longer determined solely by outcomes. If there is one thing worth remembering about 2026, it is not a prediction, but this: the world will change, circumstances will shift, yet you still retain the freedom to choose who you will become. If you guard what must be guarded and live what must be lived, that itself is victory.